There are stories the internet tells itself in the small hours. Most of them are not true. A few of them are. The trouble is that the ones that are true are told the same way as the ones that aren't. This is one a man named David told a friend of mine late one summer in the backyard, with the patio lights barely lit and 2 beers on the cooler. It is the kind of story that begins ordinarily, the way the worst ones always do.
Peter found it first. Peter always found things first. He was the kind of friend who heard rumors before anyone else and ran at them like they were daring him. He told me about the house the way you'd tell someone about a bar with cheap drinks, like it was a tip, a favor. I asked him if anyone had ever made it through. He took a long pull off the can, said he'd tried. I told him 3 was nothing. 3 was a haunted house at the mall. He looked at me for a second longer than he should have. Then he shrugged and said, "Yeah, probably."
What David did not say to Peter that night in the backyard was that he had already decided to go. He told himself he was only curious. But the decision had been made when Peter said the name. The conversation after that was scaffolding.
I drove out the next night. I wasn't going to. I thought about it for a day, decided no, and then drove out anyway. That's the part nobody ever talks about with these things. Nobody makes you go. You just go. He didn't say much. Took my $5, wrote my name in a notebook with a pencil and pointed at the door. Said the rules were simple. 9 rooms. Each door opens forward, none of them open back. If I made it through, the 500 would be waiting. I asked what happened if I didn't make it. He looked at me like he hadn't considered the question.
The first room was exactly what you would expect. Sheet ghosts on fishing line, a rubber zombie that belched when you walked past it, cardboard tombstones, the kind of haunted house a high school PTA might build for a fundraiser. The fog machine worked. The lights worked. David almost laughed.
Room 1 was embarrassing. White sheet ghosts on fishing line. A rubber zombie that lurched out of a coffin and gave a sound I can only describe as a belch. Cardboard tombstones with jokes on them. It was the haunted aisle of a Kmart in October. I almost asked for my money back. Room 2 was fog. A rubber bat doing slow circles on a wire. A distant moan that came from somewhere behind a wall. Better than room 1, but not by much. I remember laughing. I remember thinking Peter was a coward for stopping at 3.
The door at the end of room 2 opened onto a wood panel square, 10 feet by 10, with a single chair in the middle and a floor lamp in the corner. The lamp had a shadow. The chair had a shadow. David did not.
Room 3 was a room. Just a room. Wood paneling, a chair, a lamp. No props, no jump scares. I stood in the doorway for a long second, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. I noticed the chair had a shadow, long, across the floor. I noticed the lamp had a shadow. I noticed there were other shadows next to those. Low ones, like things crouched at the edge of the room. That didn't belong to anything I could see. And then I noticed I didn't have one.
The next room was darker than dark. Not low light, not dim. The absence of light. And in the absence of light, David could hear something else in the room with him. Not moving, breathing.
Room 4 had no light. The door behind me closed by itself. I tried it, even though I knew it wouldn't open. I stood with my back against it. I told myself to wait for my eyes to adjust. There was nothing to adjust to. There was something else in the room with me. I knew it the way you know it when a person sits down behind you in an empty theater. I couldn't see it. I couldn't hear it move. I could hear it breathing. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I waited for it to do something. It didn't. After what might have been a minute or might have been an hour, I felt for the wall, found the door frame, stepped through.
The doorway David stepped through opened onto a forest. Not painted, not staged. Trees that stretched up past where the ceiling should have been, leaves underfoot, wind in branches he could not see the tops of. The room was bigger than the building.
The floor of room 5 wasn't a floor. It was forest ground. Wet leaves, pine needles. I landed on my back. I looked up. Trees, real trees, going up 40, 50 feet into a ceiling that was further away than the building was wide. The room was bigger than the house had been from outside. I remember thinking that very clearly. The room was bigger than the house. That's when I started to understand.
The next door led onto a ledge. Stone wall going up, stone wall going down. David did not look down. He never measured the drop. He edged along the ledge with his back pressed flat to the rock until he reached the next door, and his fingers were white on the handle before he turned it.
Room 6 wasn't a room either. Room 6 was a mountainside. I was standing on a narrow ledge 3 feet wide, a sheer wall of rock above me. A drop on the other side I never measured. I pressed my back flat against the stone and inched along it until I found the next door. I didn't look down. I never looked down.
The door opened onto the parking lot. His car, the same floodlight, the card table empty. The relief was as real as the fear had been. David drove the streets he had known his whole life. He pulled into his driveway. He unlocked his own front door. And his mother was at the stove, stirring, the way she had been at the stove 1,000 times in his life.
I was outside. Parking lot. My car. I almost cried. I think I did cry. I walked across the gravel and I got in my car and I drove home and I didn't look in the rearview mirror once. The lights were on when I got home. My mom was in the kitchen. My dad was watching the news in the den. My sister was asleep upstairs. I told them where I'd been. I told them the whole stupid story. I told them I'd made it through. My mom laughed and asked if I wanted leftovers. My dad said, "Told you $500, that's a scam, kid." Everything was fine. I sat down at the kitchen table. I started eating. I watched my mother stir the pot on the stove. She was humming. She always hummed when she cooked. She was humming the wrong song. I looked at the photographs on the refrigerator. The vacation we took to Yellowstone when I was 11. I was in it. So was my sister. So were my parents. There was a 5th person in the back of the photo I'd never seen before. He was looking at the camera.
She turned and smiled and asked him if he was hungry. And David sat down at the kitchen table because it was the kitchen table, and he was tired, and the relief was still working in him. He did not notice the first night that her hands had 1 extra knuckle. He did not notice the first night that her wedding ring was on the wrong finger. He did notice when he opened the refrigerator for a glass of water, the vacation photograph stuck to the door with a magnet. Family at Yellowstone. David, 11 years old. His sister, his parents. And a 5th person in the back, looking at the camera, that he did not remember being there.
I don't know how long I was there. I stopped sleeping. Then I started sleeping again, in long stretches in the middle of the day. Nobody mentioned it. I tried to leave. Front door, back door, bedroom window. Every one of them opened onto a room I'd already been in. I tried not eating. I tried not talking. I tried not looking at them. It didn't help.
The thing about the last room, the room David never left, is that it does not feel like a room. It feels like home. It feels like home in the way home feels when you have been gone for years, and the smell hits you, and the light hits you, and your body remembers things your mind has not yet caught up to. Except, of course, David has not been gone for years. Except, of course, this isn't home. The friend of mine, the one David told the story to, has not heard from David in 6 months. His mother says he is fine. She picks up the phone every time my friend calls. She says David is sitting right there. She says David can't come to the phone right now.
The worst part, the part Peter could not have told me, the part nobody ever talks about with these things, is that I started to like it. She made my favorite dinner. She hummed the song now, the right song. She had remembered. My dad asked about my day. My sister came down for breakfast and called me loser the way she had since we were kids. The fifth person was still in the photograph, but I'd stopped looking at the photograph.
The worst part, the part Peter could not have told him, is that David has started to like it. You've been listening to the Glitchy Darkness. Sleep well.